it's me, Aiko, and today I'm here to talk to you about fish. No, not fish. Fish! If you haven't heard, Fish is the new TCG exclusive kid on the block. These cosmic catchers are all the same type and support one of the smallest types in the game, fish. Yes, I did put up subtitles just to clarify what I meant. You wouldn't think that such a small addition to a type would break it wide open, but have I got news for you? It probably didn't. But there is a combo deck that you can build utilizing the fish in conjunction with one of the most broken monsters of all time. A fish monster known as Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth. Now, you may wonder, what can Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth do that's so broken? Well, my adorable Stormy, once per turn, it can discard a card from the hand to special summon as many level 4 or lower fish monsters from the deck as possible. That is, once per turn per copy. That means if you can revive it somehow, say with White Aura Monoceros, you'd be able to use its effect again. And if you could revive it again, you'd be able to do it again and again. Before, Coelacanth was pretty difficult to get out. Now there are at least 2 consistent ways to get it out from the hand easily. The new fish monster, Pace's Light of the Fish, and the recent TCG exclusive Link to Fish, Abyss Keeper, which special summons a fish monster to a zone it points to. I've crafted a deck entirely focused around using Paces and Abyss Keeper to summon Coelacanth easily, and use it to make insane end boards like the one I'm showing you right now. I'll do a quick rundown of the list, and then we will start with some combos. So, we're back with the deck, and first off, let me tell you there is a lot of waters in this deck, like pretty much everything's a water, so sometimes you'll have to get waterlogged, but that won't matter much, and it's also very good for a couple of very interesting cards in this deck. So, first off, we have Abyss Shark. If it would be used for an Xyz summon of a number monster, which this deck has none of, it can be treated as a level 3 or 4, and if all monsters you control are waters, you can special summon it, then search a level 3, 4, or 5 fish from your deck to your hand. But you can't special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except for waters. Now, this is very useful when you want to search out some extenders or just have an additional monster to summon. But it waterlocks you, so you'll have to do the combo a very specific way. Next up is 1 copy of Fishborg Launcher. Although Fishborg Launcher can't be used as a Synchro summon except for if you go into a water Synchro, that doesn't matter since you've got several really strong water monsters in your extra deck. And he revives himself if there are only water monsters in your graveyard aside from himself, banishing itself when it leaves the field, but that doesn't matter and is actually quite good. Next up is Gluttonous Reptolphin Griefiths. He may be a bit of a spiny boy, but this dolphin is quite good when it comes to extending. Basically, he revives anything that's lower than the number of cards in your opponent's hand as a level. So if your opponent has 4 cards in their hand, for instance, Griefiths can revive a level 4 or lower. Next up is 3 copies of Right Hand Shark and 1 copy of Left Hand Shark. These 2 cards make the Hermit Shark, which special summons totally awesome from the deck, and they're just generally good fish-type monsters to special summon from the deck with Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth. There's also a couple of really cool combos which you can go into, which I'll get into a bit later. Next up is Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth, the fish himself who needs no introduction. He is a boss. He can even prevent himself from being targeted by Effect Veiler or Infinite Impermanence. Quite good if I do say so myself. Next up is 3 copies of Lifeless Leaffish. Lifeless Leaffish is useful to send from your deck to the graveyard, Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth if you have a way to revive it. But it's also useful in that it can send from deck to grave any number of other fish-type monsters that you want in your grave, like the next one coming up right now. Next up is Nimble Angler and Nimble Sunfish. If Nimble Angler is sent from hand or deck to grave, you can special summon up to 2 level 3 or lower Nimbles from your deck, except itself. So, if you normal summon Lifeless Leaffish and send Nimble Angler to grave, you can special summon Nimble Sunfish. Nimble Sunfish is also just decent because it sends a fish from your deck to grave if destroyed by battle, which isn't that good, but you can do stuff with that. Next up is White Stingray. It's a free special summon by discarding a water monster, though it's only a hard once per turn special summon, and that's generally all you need it for. It's also a level 4 fish, so you can search it off of Abyss Shark if you need a free special summon. Next up is Royal Swamp Eel. A lot of the time, you'll need a level 4 fish tuner to get your combos properly done. So Royal Swamp Eel is the only card that really fits that description. And finally, we move on to the fish portion of the fish in the fish deck. 3 Paces Light of the Fish, and 1 copy of Shift Fairy of the Fish. Pace's effect banishes itself to special summon a fish monster from your hand, and it can special summon itself if it's banished during the next standby phase. It also has an effect shared with Shift, that if it was special summoned this turn during your opponent's turn, you can immediately synchro summon a single fish synchro monster using that card you control. Next is Shift Fairy of the Fish, which instead of special summoning from the hand, you can banish it from your graveyard, then target a fish to gain 500 attack until the end of the turn. That's quite good because it's very easy to get in the graveyard. Next up is 3 Swap Frog and 1 Ronin Totem. You can use these to go into Totally Awesome, but you can also use these with a very special combo that involves this friend in the future. Finally, we're looking at the spell and traps. There's 2 copies of the Most Distant Deepest Depth. Most Distant Deepest Depths banishes any fish to search a fish monster from your deck to your hand. And basically that's it. It also can't be banished while you control a fish synchro monster, which will become important later. Next up, 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. Foolish Burial Goods is quite good because it can send Ice Barrier to the graveyard, and Ice Barrier essentially banishes itself to search a Super Ancient Deep-Sea King Coelacanth from deck to hand. It can also send a Most Distant Deepest Depths from deck to grave to add itself back, but that's not necessarily the best choice. Next up, 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. This deck cannot go second. You really need this. And in a format where Sprite and Tearlament are running around, generally there's going to be a lot of combos that end on big boards. Finally is 1 copy of Called by the Grave. It's good for just stopping hand traps and stuff. Very useful. Now, moving on to the extra deck, we have 2 copies of Abyss Keeper. This deep sea fish is one of the most important extra deck monsters in the deck. Basically, he can special summon your Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth from the hand to a zone it points to. He also has a targeting banish effect to banish cards, but that's not necessarily used that often, though you can play him to follow up. Next up is Crystron Halqifibrax, an important part of your combos. He special summons from the deck some very strong cards. Following that is Aria, the Water Charmer Gentle. You need to go into her because you need a second link too for your big combo using your Sprite monsters, so you can overlay it into Gigantic Sprite. Next up is Marincess Coral Anemone. Generally you don't go into this turn 1 too often, but Coral Anemone is a very good backup card. She'll be able to special summon a bunch of your fish monsters from the graveyard, as well as your fish monsters as well if you're able to, and just generally allows you to link climb a lot. Finally, for the link monsters, we have Sprite Elf, and Sprite Elf is just generally a good card. It makes it so your Totally Awesome can activate 3 times per turn as opposed to 2. Next is Bahamut Shark. With Bahamut Shark, you just detach to special summon Toad. It's not that difficult. Following that, we have Gigantic Sprite. You don't need to go over Totally Awesome. Everyone knows what Totally Awesome does. It's a free negate. Gigantic Sprite, you can treat 2 link monsters to Xyz summon it. So, A lot of the time, you can exceed summon it using Abyss Keeper, which can't be used as link material, but can be used as exceed material the turn it's link summoned. And then you use this to special summon from deck Swap Frog, and then you overlay for another totally awesome after the first. Next is White Aura Monoceros, one of the most insane cards of the deck. It very easily revives Super Ancient Deep-Sea King Coelacanth and allows you to extend even further. Next is Adamantipator Risen Dragite, an 8-star water synchro monster. You're able to go into it using White Aura Monoceros and Fishborg Launcher, or Super Ancient Deep-Sea King Coelacanth and Fishborg Launcher. So that's good. Next is Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur is Baron de Fleur. You can summon it with Coelacanth and a Greethis that you special from deck, since Greethis is a tuner. Next is Ascan the Bicorn Fish. Ascan the Bicorn Fish has a special ability that when it's synchro summoned, you target a fish monster you control and a card your opponent controls and banish them. So it can banish itself and then banish an opponent's card. Then you can banish a fish monster from your graveyard and special summon itself from the banished zone, which is kind of crazy. And then finally, the entire reason you play the deck. Fish of the Deep Beyond. It needs a fish tuner and 1+ non-tuner monsters, and its original attack becomes 500 times the number of banished monsters. And that number, you'll find, goes up very, very quickly. If it's synchro summoned during your opponent's turn, which is surprisingly easy, you can banish all cards on the field. During the standby phase of the next turn after it was banished from the monster zone, you can special summon it, and it essentially just wins you the game at that point. Now that we've taken a look at the deck, let's go and jump into some combos. Alright, so first we're going to show off the bread and butter of the deck. Paces, Light of the Fish, plus Super Ancient Deep-Sea King Coelacanth. First off, you'll normal summon Paces, special summon Coelacanth, discard a card, special summon Royal Swamp Eel, Left Hand Shark, Greethis, and Right Hand Shark from the deck. Next, you'll synchro summon Coelacanth and Greethis into a Baron de Fleur, since you're currently not locked into anything. Next up, you'll synchro off Left Hand Shark and Royal Swamp Eel into a copy of White Aura Monoceros. Monoceros revives from graveyard Super Ancient Deep-Sea King Coelacanth. You activate the effect of Left Hand Shark. Since you control Right Hand Shark, you special summon it, and it becomes a level 4 when it's special summoned. Then, you overlay the two Right Hand and Left Hand for Bahamut Shark. Next up, you use Bahamut Shark's effect to special summon Totally Awesome from your extra deck. Next, you link away White Aura Monoceros and Bahamut Shark into any link too, though Abyss Keeper is the one I chose. Next up, you use Coelacanth's effect again, discarding another card and special summoning Shift, Vary of the Fish, and Lifeless Leaffish. Next, you link into a link to Crystron Halqifibrax. Halqifibrax effect activates and you special summon from deck Fishborg Launcher. Then you synchro Fishborg Launcher and Coelacanth away into Adamantipator Risen Dragite for a spell and trap negate. Next, you use Fishborg Launcher to revive its Lifeless Leaffish to shuffle back 3. Then draw 1 card. After that, you Fishborg Launcher, revive itself. Then you use Shift, banishing to target Fishborg Launcher. Launcher gains 500 attack, but that's not what we'll be using it for. You overlay the two Link 2s into Gigantic Sprite. Since this doesn't actually waterlock you, use Gigantic Sprite's effect, detach to special summon from the deck a copy of Swap Frog. Swap Frog's effect activates, sending another Swap Frog. Then you link Gigantic Sprite and Fishborg Launcher into Sprite Elf, pointing to your Dragite and your Baron. That way, neither of them can be targeted. After that, you use Sprite Elf, reviving back your Swap Frog. With your second Swap Frog, you send from your deck to the graveyard a copy of Ronin Totem. This is a glitch, I swear. You overlay the 2 copies of Swap Frog into Totally Awesome. Then, during your opponent's standby phase, the effect of Shift activates, summoning it back. During your opponent's turn, you'll have a Totally Awesome effect to negate. Then you add back to hand from grave with Totally Awesome. You add back Right Hand Shark. Then you use Baron to negate. Then you have another Dragite negate. Another Totally Awesome negate. Then you add back another card, this time being Coelacanth, since you have a pace in your hand. Then you use Toad again by reviving it with Sprite Elf. And that adds back a Toad from your grave to your extra deck. Then, if your opponent's still playing, you can Synchro summon using Shift with Dragite into Fish of the Deep Beyond. With Fish of the Deep Beyond, banish every card on the field, and then special summon it back during your next standby phase. And that is just one of the combos. Next up, we'll be doing this one manually. I've set the deck up so it's easy to do. So first off, you Foolish Burial Goods, sending from deck to graveyard your Ice Barrier. You use Ice Barrier's effect, banishing it to send from deck to graveyard Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth, then revive it and add it to hand. Then you normal summon Pace's Light of the Fish, banish it to special summon Coelacanth. With Coelacanth's effect, you discard to special summon from deck Lifeless Leaffish, Royal Swamp Eel, Left Hand Shark, and a copy of Shift, Fairy of the Fish. With this, you link away Shift and Coelacanth into Crystron Halqifibrax. Halqifibrax effect activates, special summoning from the deck a copy of Fishborg Launcher. Then, you Synchro away your Left Hand Shark and your Royal Swamp Eel into a copy of White Aura Monoceros. White Aura Monoceros revives Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth. You Synchro the Fishborg Launcher and the Monoceros into a copy of Adamancipator Risen Dragite. Use effect of Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth. Discard to special summon from deck Grethis and Right Hand Shark. You link Grethis and Lifeless Leaffish away to special summon from your extra deck Area the Water Charmer Gentle. Then you use the effect in grave of Left Hand Shark, reviving it. You overlay Left Hand Shark, which is now a level 4, and Right Hand Shark into Bahamut Shark. Bahamut Shark uses its ability to special summon a Totally Awesome from your extra deck. Then you can link Area and Bahamut Shark away to summon any water monster, preferably Abyss Keeper, but maybe something else instead. Next, you use Fishborg Launcher's effect. Since every monster in the graveyard is water, you can special summon Launcher, and then Launcher and Deep Sea King Coelacanth make Ascan the Bicorned Fish. With the effect in grave of Shift Fairy of the Fish, you banish it, increase Ascan's attack by 500, and then pass the turn. During your opponent's standby phase, either Shift or Paces comes back. But let's say Shift comes back, so you special summon Shift. You have a negate with Dragite, a negate with Totally Awesome, which adds back to hand a copy of Right Hand Shark. You also have the effect of Lifeless Leaffish, which puts back 1, 2, and 3 cards back into your deck. And your Fishborg launcher is, of course, banished. And you get a draw. So, then you use that Emancipated Risen Dragite to negate a spell or trap. Then, if your opponent continues playing, you can use the effect of Shift Fairy of the Fish to Synchro summon into Fish of the Deep Beyond. With Fish of the Deep Beyond's effect, since it was Synchro summoned during the opponent's turn, once again you banish every monster on the field. Every card on the field, as a matter of fact. Then, during the next standby phase, Fish of the Deep Beyond comes back, and you can revive Ascan, the bicorn fish. Next up, we'll be doing another staple combo. Next up, we're doing this combo, Lifeless Leaffish plus Abyss Shark. First off, you normal summon Lifeless Leaffish and send from your deck to the graveyard Super Ancient Deep-Sea King Coelacanth, of course. Then, you can special summon Abyss Shark and add from deck to hand a copy of Gluttonous Reptolfin Greethis. Next up, you link off Lifeless Leaffish and Abyss Shark into Abyss Keeper, then special summon Greethis from the hand. Generally, at this point, your opponent should have at least 4 cards in hand, so you use Greethis' effect, reviving from your graveyard Leaffish if that's the case. If that's not the case, then that's unfortunate for you. So then, you Synchro Greethis and Leaffish into Monoceros. Monoceros revives Coelacanth. Coelacanth effect activates, discarding 2 special summon from deck 3 monsters. You special summon Left-Hand Shark and Right-Hand Shark, specifically this time, because you can't use Coelacanth more than once in this combo. And you also special summon Shift, Light of the Fish. Next up, you link Shift and Left Hand into a copy of Halka Fibrax. Halka Fibrax activates, special summoning from your deck a Fishborg Launcher. You Synchro of Fishborg Launcher and White Aura Monoceros into a copy of Emancipator Risen Dragite. You use the effect of Fishborg Launcher Engrave, special summon it, Synchro Launcher and Coelacanth off into a copy of Ascan. Then you can use Engrave effect of Left-Hand Shark special summoning itself. With Left-Hand Shark and Right-Hand Shark, you overlay into a rank 4. Bahamut Shark. You use Bahamut Shark's effect, special summon from extra deck, totally awesome. Then you can link these 2 off into a link 2 if you want. Almost certainly Area the Water Charmer Gentle. Then you use effect Engrave of Shift, banishing it to target Ascan to give Ascan an additional 500 attack. Then you use effect of Lifeless Leaffish, banishing it to shuffle back Abyss Shark, White Aura Monoceros, and the Greethis. Then you shuffle and draw a card. During the opponent's standby phase, you revive Shift, and you can negate with Dragite, negate with Toad, and add back Right-Hand Shark, and use Shift to Synchro with Dragite in order to make another Fish of the Deep Beyond, which banishes everything once again, and then comes back during your next standby phase once again. And you have 5 cards in hand at this point. Last but not least, we'll do a combo that only happens if you open a particularly bad hand, Right-Hand Shark and Swap Frog. So with right-hand shark, you normal summon it and search left-hand shark from the deck to the hand. You use the effect of Swap Frog, discarding the left-hand shark to special summon. With Swap Frog's effect, you send from deck to graveyard a copy of Ronin Totem. You use left-hand shark's effect to revive itself then, and then you overlay left-hand shark and right-hand shark together into a rank 4 Bahamut Shark. Bahamut Shark's effect activates, detaching to special summon a Totally Awesome. You link away the Swap Frog and Bahamut Shark into Sprite Elf, because Swap Frog is a level 2. You use the effect of Sprite Elf, reviving Swap Frog, using Swap Frog's effect, sending another copy of Swap Frog from deck to grave. Then you banish Swap Frog to revive Totally Awesome. Revive Ronin Totem, not Totally Awesome. Then you overlay into a Totally Awesome. And that's the board. You have 3 negates just on your own here. And 3 adds back to hand. There are a lot of other combos. Most of these other combos, well, they use 3 cards, but these should show you the basics of the deck. Now, go out there and use your fish to your full potential. Rise, my minions. Also, if it doesn't work as advertised, please don't sue me.